News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Bob Sokoler, Louisville Real Estate Show with you until the top of the hour. Joining us on today's show, we've got the very fabulous Chuck Crosby. I was going to go for mellifluous, but it just went to fabulous. You can reach Chuck at the Crosby Law Offices at 499-6360. Also, Randy Rocky is back by popular demand. He's over at Swan Financial, does a great job getting loans put to get ready to close and over to Chuck. And that number for Randy is 645-0736. And you can reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime, 376-5483. We'd love to help you get ready, set, and on the market. Call me, email me, bob@wesellouisville.com, or you can also reach out to me at bobsellmyhome.com. Just go on there and fill out the forms, or sellmyhomebob.com. It takes you to the same place. So in the news, depleted, stretched, and disheartened. That's how a lot of home shoppers who've lost home bids after bids over the past year are feeling these days. When it comes to timing, they've certainly gotten the short end of the stick. Over the past 12 months, U.S. home prices are up 18.8%. That's an average uptick larger than any 12-month period leading up to the 2008 housing crash. But now, Randy, Chuck, and everybody else, listen to this carefully. The next crop of home buyers, the people who have not purchased as of yet, might have it even worse. Recently, Zillow released its latest forecast. The home listing site Zillow now predicting that the year-over-year rate of home price growth will hit 22% in May. That's an incredible jump for home prices. That would, of course, represent an acceleration in the price growth that we haven't seen before. Beyond May, Zillow foresees only a subtle downturn in the rate of growth. And by February 2023, that year-over-year home price growth will be at 17.8%. That's according to Zillow's forecast model. Now, mind you, Zillow is not the end-all, be-all, but they do have a pretty good track record for doing some types of predictions. So just a word of caution if you're thinking about buying as rates go up. Randy, we're at about 5. We're seeing it go up and down, 5.5. Predictions by the end of this year, where do you think Chuck and I and all the other people listening will see rates?
NMF number 26362. I think that you'll probably see rates, in mid to low 4s.
So they're going to come down, is what you're saying, by the end of the year?
Yes. I think they'll come down 0.5 to 0.75 point.
Okay.
To end up in the mid to low 4s.
So buyers who are anxiously waiting to get the homes. By the way, homes are coming on the market. I have been swamped over the past month, meeting with people, getting plans ready, putting homes on the market. So no, I'm not alone in this, but we do a lot of sales. Just know homes are coming. So just know that there is some light at the end of the tunnel. And the key for you as buyers is to work with a real estate team that has multiple agents who can get you into the home the moment it comes on the market. I'll let that be the last word on that. We'll move forward with questions because we're doing our COVID show, which means we're not in the studio. We're doing it via Zoom from each of our locations where we are. And so we record these. You can see this show rebroadcast at LouisvilleAnswers.com. And that's taking you to our YouTube channel, LouisvilleAnswers.com. Chuck, first question. Tony is an investor, and he's getting on in years. And he wrote to the show to warn people. He said he sold 2 of his homes because he wanted to get out of the landlord business. The price for the homes that what he sold them for was what he paid for them years before. He just wanted to get out of as investors, they would love to get that. But, and see what you know about this, the IRS ended up sending him a tax bill for some $30,000 because of depreciation that he took. So have you heard of this before, that he didn't factor into the depreciation factor? You're up to speed on this?
Well, I'm not an accountant. Anything that has to do with taxes, I will inevitably refer them off to a CPA. That's why God created CPAs. It's for taxes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I did some checking. One of our agents and I talked about this, and if you claim annual depreciation on your rental, you must pay it back. It's called depreciation recapture. And he and I both agree you need to talk with an accountant. But yes, be aware of what the tax consequences are when you sell. And the best way to do that on this, Tony, is definitely to contact your accountant or whoever does your taxes. Or if you don't have anybody, you do it yourself. You want to talk to somebody that you trust so that you can get the straight scoop and you don't get a $30,000 tax bill from the IRS. All right.
I get questions like that all the time, Bob. And it's like, that's not a legal matter. That's a tax matter. You need to talk to the guys that do that.
Got it. Yep. Lydia writing in, Randy, apparently she sold her home. She writes, should she make her next mortgage payment before the house closes? She says, we're under contract, scheduled to close the 14th of, I guess it's going to be April. So if she's under contract closing April 14th, your thoughts?
No.
I would go ahead and go ahead.
Go ahead, Chuck.
I was going to say it messes up the closing if you go and you make your monthly payment prior to closing.
Right.
But if she's late,
I would, if it was if it's March,
yeah, I understand.
Yes, you got to make a March payment, but not April's payment. That is correct, because I'm taking it that she wants to know if she should make March payment or was not
she did indicate she's just scheduled to make her next payment on, but the way I took it was the March payment, which she should make if she's closing on the 14th, because isn't it like the 10th? That's you're any later than the 10th, you're late on your payment.
Well, if you're April 14th,
days, 5%. Right. Yeah.
On the 15 days.
Yeah. And then they charge 5%. Normally, when we get a payoff, we'll include 2-3 days extra interest because we're talking about what, $25 somewhere in that neck of the woods in general.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of money, and we always collect some extra days of interest on a payoff, mainly because you can't ever guarantee when they're going to post these things. So we get them a check on whatever day it's in the mail room. It goes upstairs. Some Yahoo looks at the date and goes, "Oh, wait a minute, we're beyond whatever." The money's refunded. So, it's kind of an iffy thing, because if you do, it's coming up on the 14th or whatever. So you make that payment. If we can't get an extra payoff statement, and it's not always easy to do that, then, we still have to collect the full amount and send it in. And then you wait 3 weeks to get your money back. So the question is, do you want to possibly pay a $25-ish, $20 to $25 to $50 penalty? Or do you want the bank to hold on to an extra payment for 3 extra weeks? It's, it's a judgment call on their part.
Gotcha. I'm going to go back over to Randy with this question. Logan sent us an email saying he's using an alias, and you'll see why. He applied for a mortgage with a popular lender, but accidentally left out some key information about the bills he owes. The lender apparently did some sort of check and found out about the bills that were owed and turned him down for a mortgage. Logan is asking if he goes to another lender and is upfront about the bills, upfront and honest about the bills he owes, will the new lender know about the previous indiscretions with the old lender?
No, they do not know if you were turned down or not. They'll see that there was an inquiry, but they would not know if they were approved or if they weren't approved.
So if Logan goes to the next lender and they do the inquiry, they say, "Oh, it looks like you've been shopping around." Is there anything he should say to diffuse any questions from the new lender?
No, not at all, because you're allowed to shop.
Okay.
It's like anything else. So no, it's not anything he would have to do, Bob.
Okay, got it. Chuck, you're going to love this next question. When I saw this come in, I said, this is Chuck's. Good question. Michael sent us an email, just moved to St. Matthew from the Midwest, and he's wondering if he can legally keep chickens in his backyard. Is there an easy way to determine the answer to that, Chuck?
Oh, check with the HOA. See what they have to say about it.
I don't know that they have HOAs that many in St. Matthews. You
I
live
have a
there,
friend who has chickens in his backyards in St. Matthews. Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And downtown, you can, in the city of Louisville proper, it's not necessarily forbidden. But just because you're in the city doesn't mean you're not in an HOA.
Okay. All right.
So there might be an HOA out there. Pretty much every subdivision will at least have the framework for an HOA. And, check with them first. But typically if you're in the city, I just remember when I lived down in old Louisville, I was awakened by a rooster every morning.
Where do the farm animals draw the line? Where are you allowed to put besides chickens? Pigs?
Yeah, I'm betting when you start getting into larger domesticated animals, you're going to run into a health issue, if nothing else. You have a couple of cows in your backyard down on 3rd Street. My bet is the health department's going to show up and want to know where the waste is going.
When I did TV on 11 years ago, I worked with a photographer who owned a pig. They had a big pig, not a little one. It was a big pig. Yeah. So I guess that's legal as well. So, all right.
Well, I remember getting a call one time from some clients who were claiming that their neighbors did not like them because of their ethnicity, and that this was taking the form of they were calling the police while they were simply having a family barbecue. What they neglected to mention was the animals were also being, shall we say, prepared to leave this life and become barbecued.
Oh, jeez.
That's when it becomes a health issue.
We are going to take a break. If you want to sign up for our newsletter, go to welovelouisville.com. That will give you a chance at signing up. We put out newsletters twice a month. Also, if you want to see the future of photography, head to Louisville3D.com and see what we do with a lot of our listings, Louisville3D.com. We will take the break with us, and continuing with us till the top of the hour, Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Offices at 499-6360. Also, Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, 645-0736. And you can reach me, Bob Sokoler, anytime on my cell phone, 376-5483. We're back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS. Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show. Thank you, Barbara Corcoran, for your endorsement and friendship. You can see her on Shark Tank and also the commercials that we do with Barbara. With us, in addition to myself, my son Greg, by the way, he's actually out shooting because we're really busy getting homes on the market and sold. We've got Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Offices. They do a great job getting the loan closed, but Chuck also is able to do a variety of other things, including wills. And as he says, if he doesn't do it, he knows someone who does. You can reach Chuck at 499-6360. He's a go-to guy for us. He's a great guy. Also, another good guy. Oh, great guy. Randy Rocky, Swan Financial. You can reach him, 645-0736. Swan is phenomenal for getting loans closed, and they do a really great job on a daily basis. And you can reach me, as I mentioned, 376-5483. Question for you, Randy. Jacob buying a home in an older section of Louisville. He says the house was listed at $195,000. The appraiser for his bank appraised the house at $135,000. The listing agent says that when she had an appraiser do the appraisal before she listed the house, the appraiser said it was worth $195,000. So she's wondering, what's the story with discrepancies, and what should Jacob do about the discrepancy in the appraisal? Thoughts on that?
Well, as you well know, you can always have the appraiser look at comps that were within the last 6 months, usually within a mile. And if they show that it's 195, they just give them the address and what it's sold for and square footage and all that. And if it's comparable to the one that the purchase price at 195 or the 135, obviously they will change the value. The chances of changing values it doesn't happen very often, but I'd say 1 out of 10 times it does.
So you can appeal it, is what you're saying. The other option I would think is go to another lender and I think it's going to cost you $400 for an appraisal, a new application. But at least that way, if you really want the house, you get another shot at getting the house, getting another appraiser's opinion. Obviously, one appraiser already appraised it for $195,000. That was the listing agent's appraiser, but not all appraisers use the same stats or go by the same standards. I should say not the standards, but more like the stats and the comps that they pull. So just to be accurate. All right, moving on this, Chuck. Chad is buying his first home. Congrats, Chad. He was advised by his real estate agent to get owner's title insurance. His parents say you don't need owner's title insurance because the bank has their own insurance on the house. Chad is wondering, so who's right with this between his parents? Boy. Yeah. Go ahead, Chuck.
I get that a lot. They always say, well, the bank's got the title insurance on it. The difference is if you get owner's title insurance, that covers you for your life with some appreciation, covers your heirs if you pass away, that sort of thing. The lender's title insurance disappears as you pay the loan down, and at no point does it ever cover your equity. So even if you were expecting something to come up right away, it's never going to cover your equity in the property. It's that simple. You pay your loan down, it disappears. It never covers you. It only defends the lender. And if the mortgage isn't getting called in, then you're just hanging out there in the breeze.
We were taught in our real estate school, this goes back for me 2004, and I still remember this to this day. The example that was cited to us is that years and years ago, turn of the century, the owners of the property adjacent to the zoo, the Louisville Zoo. You remember that? Yep.
Yeah.
So the owners deeded or gave the property to the city with the condition that it be used to expand the zoo. And that was all it could be used for.
Well, that's because the city took the property. It was an eminent domain issue.
Oh,
the city took the property, which means they can only use it for the quasi-governmental purposes that they cited when they took it. Well, the problem is they took X amount. They only used half of the property. And then they sold the rest of it to some developers who then put up some very lovely homes. Then the original owners came back in and said, oh, hey, guys, we want our land back. And thank you so much for building us all these lovely new homes. The lawsuit went on for, the average civil lawsuit, I think is like 4 years. This went on for somewhere around 11 years.
And the end result was what? That the city ended up...
There were two levels. At the trial level, the judge said, yeah, sorry, guys, you got to give your houses up. Okay. And then they appealed it. And then the appeals court, did the right thing and said, no, you don't have to give your houses up. The city has to compensate the people they took the land from in X amount of dollars. The thing is, title insurance in that case didn't have to pay out because the property was taken. But they picked up the legal defense. Think about it. An attorney back then was charging $250 an hour, 30, whatever an hour, for 11 years of defending a lawsuit. Okay. Oh, yeah. If you had title insurance, you were fine. The legal bills were all paid. If you didn't have title insurance, you had a second mortgage.
Chuck, did you know anything about the Rough River situation as well? That was
not offhand. No.
Okay, there was a whole red line issue and all the above. It was I don't know how it turned out, but it was an absolute disaster. I think it was like 80 to 100 homes in question.
Yeah. Because if there's going to be an issue like that, there's going to be a large number of homes involved, and you never know what a judge is going to do down in the neck of the woods. I'm thinking of a particular issue in Washington County where a similar thing happened, and the judge allowed evidence in the trial of, those dowsing rods.
Yeah.
They were claiming there were people buried in this. It was a cemetery, and they had people go out with dowsing rods to find, where these people were buried. The judge allowed that stuff. Obviously, the Court of Appeals is going to kick that, through the field goal. But, Title and
All right.
insurance covers not just the cost of losing the property, but the defense, and that's where the value comes in.
So anytime you're wondering about whether you should buy title insurance, think of the example with the Louisville Zoo and what happened with the city. Mind you, this was decades ago, but it still holds true. And it's case example for any real estate agent who's going to school. We're told about it.
No, I got a million of them.
I'm sure.
I see it every day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Matthew is about to sell his home. He said he had, he's writing us, he's telling us that he's going to buy a new home, but the last time he bought a house, he had to jump through hoops because his credit wasn't good and he had some loans that were a little delinquent. He writes, a little delinquent. He says a little delinquent. He says he's worked on his credit, paid off some bills. He's wondering what else he should do to prepare for finding a loan for a new home. Is there anything else in your mind, Randy?
Yes. Have someone like me pull your credit. It's very important you have someone who is actually going to do the home process to pull the credit, and then you could put a strategy together on what else needs to be done to get your credit score up. And I get my credit pulled every 3 to 4 months, my wife and I, because people say, oh, your credit's going to drop and all that. I don't know if that's true or not. It hasn't, because I'm getting a home mortgage. If you're looking at getting 90 days same as cash and all that, sure, it could affect it one way or another. But I cannot emphasize enough to be very proactive in that. I'll pull my kids' credit. We're very serious about it.
You can order a free credit report. How often?
I'm not a fan of those.
Okay.
I don't think they're accurate, and I just don't think they do a very good job. You really need to get with a company that does loans.
So Matthew, in a little bit, I'm going to give out Randy's phone number. You want to jot that down, give him a call and ask him, meet with him and find out what they can do for you to help. Chuck Anthony, planning on selling his house this year. He's concerned about finding his next house. He wonders if he can sell his house, rent back from the buyer, and if so, what type of language does he need in the contract to make that happen? Well, from a standpoint of, for us as agents, we do that on a regular basis where within the contract, we negotiate it where you're able to stay in the house, rent it back from the buyer and from the new buyer, the new owner. And people will do that these days because there are very few homes on the market. But from a legal standpoint, Chuck, what wording needs to go into a contract to protect?
It's not just the wording, it's also the type of loan. Okay. And a cash deal, sure, you can do that all day long. But it depends on the length of time and the type of loan the buyer has. If the buyer's doing a KHC deal, he's got to get into that property fairly quickly. Okay, we're not talking 10-day date of deed. Usually when I see that issue, they're wanting to stay 3-4 months afterwards. And, that just would probably be an automatic violation of the mortgage and that sort of thing. Now, if it's not, well, just put it in there that, there's going to be a period post-closing of post-closing possession, and we can draw up a post-closing possession agreement. But you want to put all the terms in, okay? Because, if you say that they'll be allowed to stay and terms to be decided later, well, what if you can't come to terms later?
Right.
Right. You want everything carved in stone in the lease, in the contract, but then you want to create a document other than the contract that incorporates all that. So at closing, have either a lease or a post-closing possession agreement drawn up, which is a lease by any other name.
Things like how long you're going to be in there with a specific finite date that you're going to move out.
Yeah.
And things
like you want a definite date when it's all up, because otherwise, if you all don't agree, you're going to have to go and evict them. And you're going to have to have something showing the terms, and B, it's going to take you a while. So just cut that out altogether.
Not only rent back fees, but also if you don't move out, what's the penalty involved if you don't move out? Things like that. Yeah, we got that. That's good advice. Question here, Randy. William wrote us saying he is considering buying a second home on the lake that's in his area. What does he need to do to prepare to get a mortgage on a lake property, and what does the mortgage company look at in terms of income and credit score? So this is a second home on a lake. So a lake second property?
Unfortunately, second homes now, they've really raised the rates on them, but you can still get them done. It's just we look at debt to income ratio and credit score. He wants a credit score at least 640. We really would like to have it 720 or above, but it can absolutely be done.
We have time for one more question. Carrie writing in, she put a contract in on a home last November, but she got worried because the payments were going to be too high. So she backed away from the contract by simply having a termite inspection. And last week, she put another offer in on another house. We heard this once before, a different case, but got cold feet and decided to back off again. At this time, she was told in order to back away, she'd have to have a full inspection on the house. But that's because of changes. Chuck, what were the changes to the contract that she doesn't know?
It used to be all you had to do was show some kind of oh, hey, I don't like this or whatever. It was more subjective. Now you've got to have an actual licensed professional go out and do an inspection, and that be the basis. So it's not just the whole, I changed my mind. Now you have to actually have something to back it up a little bit. You just can't say, I don't like the place. I don't like the place because.
I think what the ultimate end all be all is that they want to make the buyer have some skin in the game before they decide to pull out. In other words, they're paying for a home inspection as opposed to just being able to pull out. I think that's the intent. All right, we are out of time. My thanks to Chuck Crosby, the Crosby Law Offices, 499-6360. Randy Rocky, Swan Financial, 645-0736. Thank you, gentlemen. You can reach me. We can come out and talk about plans, how to get the home on the market, what needs to be or not done, and come up with a path. It's free, no obligation, 376-5483, or go to bobsellmyhome.com or sellmyhomebob.com, or email me, bob@wesellouisville.com. Guys, thanks again. Thank you all for being there. You can hopefully see us next week, Sunday, 8:30 a.m. right here on News Radio 840 WHAS.